For our next foray into the Heart of the Machine demo, one of our goals is going to be initial side questing, starting to wean ourselves off a linear path. But before that, if you're still sticking around at this point, you're probably pretty interested in the wider world and setting and where we're going from here long term with the gameplay and all of that. So I want to talk about that for a bit. Switching on the beacons view, we can see a variety of things happening around the city that we don't really have to interact with yet, but they'll tell us more of the story. We've got security force stations in various places. We've got a courthouse, for example. They're going to implement law and order there, obviously, not justice per se, but law and order. There are prisons as well. We've got these different research areas, and you can see there's a lot of research going on by Vorsiber. And you can see the reason for that. They have the 4 pillars approach to research, and it's what they're aiming at to get them off of Earth, which is really the only ambition they can have, as they're the biggest and baddest around here, and into space with the other humans that are colonizing the galaxy. So they believe that AI, nanotech, cryonics, or genetics research, some combination of that will get them there. And you can also readily see why they'd be so interested in what we're developing and just sort of letting us do that, combined with what their projects are, could put them over the hump. They have also managed to do some fusion power, which had eluded humans how to do that on Earth for several centuries. So that's pretty darn impressive. There are some other bits we can see. For example, underneath Vorsiber, there are 14 major subsidiaries. So they are basically the large but not massive corporations that are going to be having cutthroat competition, competing with each other militarily and otherwise. One of them is Tark, who sent that corporate attack on us not long ago. And they are definitely still major forces to be reckoned with, but that's a little bit more into the power structure of the city. Some of the other items like water, and there's others around, will give us information on the general setting, but in the short version of it is, this city is in what we would call Siberia in our time. It's one of the more temperate areas due to climate change. Most of the Earth is underwater, and it's one of the few areas on Earth where there are still some significant natural resources to be exploited, which is why Vorsiber has this as their crown jewel, if you will. This is also a few centuries into the future with World War III having happened. Large-scale nuclear exchanges happened as part of that, and that included this part of the world. The city is actually built on a larger city ruin from World War III, so we've got irradiation, we've got pollution, we have all kinds of fun things contributing. This is the best place to be on Earth, but Earth sucks compared to everywhere else that humanity is. Pretty much. Not everywhere, but compared to most places. Then if we think more about the game in terms of winning and losing, try not to think of it in exactly those terms, because losing is either going to be rare or not a thing at all. That's still sort of being hammered out. By launch 1.0, it's estimated there's going to be around 10 victory conditions to pursue. But those aren't binary. It's not a case that you fail one of those, you start over. You fail one, you can just try to do something else, and you can do compound conditions as well. Try to get 2 or 3 of them at a time, and that can be how you pursue your difficulty. So you're essentially selecting how hard it's going to be for you, and if things don't go according to plan, you can have avenues to make lemonade out of your lemons instead of just having to quit that particular run. And beyond that, the long-term plan is to have potentially as many as 40 or more different victory conditions. So it's going to be huge and expansive and all kinds of open choices. It's kind of linear right now. It actually is almost completely linear right now. But that's just because we're still going through the learning aspects of the game. There are some specifics that I'm not at liberty to discuss, and others, quite a few others, that I don't know. But you can get some hints at some things. For example, if you were paying really close attention in the first couple episodes, you probably saw the different androids, some of them that we can potentially unlock later. One of them is called the Keanu. Okay, that's a bit of a hint. Then if we look over here at our network details, we can see computing cycles, and it describes that not really in a format we can use for our neural brain of our AI, but there are other ways we could potentially get smarter in the future. And you can sort of put these things together and draw some conclusions if you're interested in looking at all that as you go through the demo when you get access. So back to what we were trying to work on, we've gone forward a little over a turn off screen, and we built another apartment here. We did need a second one to meet our goal for tent elimination. We've gotten into the weapons and armor quest, and we have one armor left to acquire. We're going to be doing that in a bit here shortly. We have gotten 2 more android chambers up and being built, and one that is complete. And of course, we're still working on this wiretap. So even if they're not finished yet, we can still tell them what to build. 1 turn for the nickel bot, 3 for the other 2 types. I'm going to do with 1 combat unit, 1 nickel bot, just because they're built so fast. Being able to have one to throw out there if we need them is not the worst idea in the world. And then 1 technician, and we'll need more android chambers to bolster those numbers with hopefully more combat units. Alright, now this is where our combat unit is, and he's gotten some upgrades with the stuff we've acquired. So shotgun is almost ready. That's going to boost our combat power there. We've gotten some pistols, secondary weapons. We got the pulse revolver, and smart pistol is more of a technician type weapon. Improves cognition and hacking and engineering type of thing. Security jacket allows you to ignore the fact that you are marked as defective. It doesn't actually protect you, but it gives you the blending in perk just by having it on. When we got the security jacket, though, we got it from a less than reputable source. And they were also less than pleased about this, so they sent out some enforcers at us after the fact. These are what you might call good family men, but they are also stronger than us. They have more than twice the health of our combat unit, these groups do, and they have higher firepower than we do. So these are definitely not pushovers. But they do have a weakness. They are only human. They cannot move or react as fast as an AI, so they only get the 1 action per turn, and that's going to allow us to still have the upper hand. We will, however, need to give them a high volume of high-velocity transcortical lead therapy, using almost all of our mental energy for the turn to wipe them out. Now we could bring our nickel bot over to try and help out with the situation. But, well, you see they would not really do much of anything. 6% damage and they'd be annihilated next turn. So, probably not worth doing that. We don't have enough micro builders to build anything right now. So we're just going to move on. So they moved over here. And we have a new notification that is important. Contemplation ability. This is our gateway to the side questing, or things to do that are optional that will power us up and that are not on our main list of projects. And it notes here, contemplations determine difficulty. Essentially, you can go straight through the main plot, if you will, and just try to power through it, but at some point, you're probably going to need to get stronger in other ways, and that's essentially what the contemplations are for, along with allowing you to explore the game and different aspects of it. On the other hand, some people like to just explore all the optionals, and you can have that anywhere in between, so there's some self-selecting difficulty or length of play that's going to go along with that. We have our unit queue sidebar because we have finished a nickel bot, and what each android chamber does is it builds one of whatever you tell it to build, and then it will stop. It doesn't build any more beyond that unless you tell it to change to a different type. So we can eventually have several androids in reserve just ready to go out when we need them of whatever different types we have queued up. And that's one of the reasons why I really like maxing out the android chambers fairly quickly to give you that flexibility. Structural improvements. This is one of a number of different research categories, if you will. Different items related to that will show up each time, but they're not always going to be the same choices. Medium scale storage job cap. 0 out of 6. 0 out of 8 for the self-construction of medium structures. That's going to improve the speed of building those. Okay. The support job cap. We could boost that as well. Or medium scale housing job cap. 0 out of 6. And since each of these has several upgrades, and there are more in the structural improvement category that aren't represented here that'll get rotated in on what I think is at least a semi-random basis, it doesn't matter that much what you choose in one individual time. You don't need to totally master plan it, but you do want to, in general, push your development in whatever direction you're looking to do. So in this particular case, we're not going to need storage for a long time, I don't think. I think building those medium structures faster is the one of those 4 choices I'm going to pick. But it could go in a number of directions. Now we have boosted our shotgun. There we go. So we have a higher damage rate. And almost got him in 3 shots, but not quite. We'll take a 4th. Could go after this weapons one, but it's going to be a little bit more involved. And I think we want to wait till we start a fresh turn, have all of our actions to react to whatever is happening. So what about building? I'd like to get a storage going. We don't have enough micro builders. But we could start with some contemplations. Get into that a little bit. And we want to go to the city map, see our contemplation view, and then we can see different places we can go. Well, we don't have security clearance for that. Or for that. That one we could try. Nope. But there's one here that can be sort of easy to miss. Solitary variant. Let's grab that one. And it's going to give us a new combat unit, which is the same as our other one. It just happens to be red. And that's going to allow us to have a second loadout of combat units, so we could better be able to cover different possibilities of enemies to counter and give us some flexibility in the tactics. So low engineering skill required. We've got it. And then it's telling us about the job clearance here. We start with level 1 on all androids. If you have marked as defective, then you lose that. And if you want to go higher than that, then you need to do something special to acquire it. It comes in red. Excellent. Now, of course, we can't build any of those yet, but we'll be looking towards that in the future. So let's do some more contemplating. Where was the one that we actually had the clearance to do? There we go. Although we can't actually get all the way there, this is in our way. So we'll move out there, and that's about what we can do for now. And then it moved. They do move around from time to time, so that's just something you sort of have to adjust to. Android Chamber Trio project is finished. And our first order of business is definitely going to be trying to find that final armor. Where is our armor? There's some armor. Ambush Captain. Challenging incident, but their armor would be incredibly useful. Okay, and they are not easily intimidated. Wouldn't expect an officer to be. Will be slightly more effective by encouraging them to assume room temperature. It worked. And they also threw out a couple snipers at us. Big surprise. Paramilitary forces don't like you killing their officers. It's weird. Okay, we can put on the military-style armor if we want. And we do want. See, plus 100 health, which when we have less than 200 right now is a big deal. But also will slow us down unless we upgrade it to not do that in the future. Regardless, we'll take it. It is not equipable on the androids of the Nickelbot or the Technician. Got another sniper to rid ourselves of. Excellent. We've got some people moving into our tents, but still quite a bit more work on that to go. Let's go back to our normal view. We have shelter coordinators. And in a small radius around, don't really see much in the way of tents there, but they will get the homeless to move faster into the apartments. And if we really didn't want them doing that for whatever psychotic reason, we could go maximum evil, turn Slayer on, and kill them. But I don't know why we would want to do that. The whole point of building these is to just get them in. So they will come in regardless. It just speeds up the process a little bit. So that is complete. We only need to finish this. Can we build yet? Yes, we have just enough for our storage. And just to get a bit of an impact of this, throw one down there. Elemental slurry cap will increase by almost 4 million, and micro builders by almost 1 million, compared to the existing 22,000 and 13,000. So when you get your first dedicated storage up for one particular type, it's a big deal. We only have 1 mental energy left, so I think we're just going to go bring our technician back most of the way. We got the tent elimination there. We're still dealing with this report about not having enough storage, but that will go away eventually. Another structural improvement. Like the idea of getting more micro builders and building things faster. That's really been a choke point for us in our last few turns. I think we've got enough housing. Building the large structures faster would be nice. The small ones tend to build fast enough, in my opinion. They don't tend to take a long time. So, but I'm going to go with the micro builders. I think that's going to be a good thing for us at this point. Let's see about this dialogue. Got some people down here to talk to. And these are the people we have just recently housed, and they're happy about that. And we're going to talk to them about food. They're giving us a nice big sob story. But basically, there's not enough food to go around unless you happen to be at least of moderate wealth. Big surprise. A world run by big corporations, or a city that is so, is not going to actually be 100% perfect. So we have, these are the major projects that we want to get done for this episode. We've got hydroponic greens, vat-grown meat, combination of both, which this is the best option in terms of that research inspiration. And canned protein. I think the basic idea is, well, if this was elevated greatly, on its best day, it might someday aspire to be spam. So we're going to pass on that. And then same with water. We will go with the top option for the best research results. By the way, on our research over here, we currently have 5 inspiration points for small arms, so we can go through a lot of those. Structural improvement, only 2. And then we're going to go through, I really think at this point in the game, going through the combat ones is quite valuable. So it's going to be a bit till we get to the others. And reminding us that it can be dangerous to leave enemies around because they're still going to be there. Even if they don't come after you and attack your buildings, they could be in your way later. And again, we need to research the groundwater eventually to get that water going. We have a bunch of investigation to do. But I would also like to build some more android chambers. Okay, we've got the 3 over there. And spacing these out directionally can be a good idea, I think. That's absolutely not mandatory. I'll put another one here. No, I won't. I don't have enough micro builders. I'll do that another time. Do we have enough to maybe put up a relay? Or a range extender? It appears that we do. Now these, of course, cost slurry, not micro builders. So we'll put one there. Maybe one over this way. And then we've got the additional micro builders we can build. I'll throw them out in this zone. Maybe. I was having a little bit of trouble finding a good place there. There we go. Now our investigation process. You know what? We're going to hold off a turn on that. Okay, and let's deploy. Let's have you make the red combat unit. Let's deploy you in place of the nickel bot. So now we've got a second combat unit, and probably also want to replace one of our technicians when we can. So we have 3 investigations to pursue, and if we look at the information there, water purification, only available at 14 locations. We only need to do it once. 4 turns is required, and then we've got the rating for investigating that's needed. Field samples, a lot more commonly available. We're going to need to do it 3 times for 2 turns each. It's an easy one. And then taking the bovine samples. That is 5 turns and a higher skill check, but again, we're going to be able to make it just fine and only need to do it once. So for reasons that will become evident shortly, we're going to do water purification first. And let's go look around. Now, a lot of the water purification is going to be in military zones. So we don't want to do that. And we have this message. You should remember the cycle. And the cycle is basically they want us to understand that you can go and fail, and this one's supposed to be an instant death. That's how it's designed. But it's not a big deal because you can simply recover from it. And you can say, okay, I'm going to spawn out some new androids, going to build them, going to figure out what I need to do to be successful there, and then go back. You don't need to be super risk averse in this game. It doesn't really require that. So there's all these different zones. We want to go to the ones that are not restricted areas. So we'll head perhaps out here. Is there a closer one perhaps? We'll go there. And let's send, just to make sure we can see what happens. Oh, we don't have enough mental energy to actually send you out that way. Okay. See what we can see down here. And alright, we've got a couple of Sec Force patrols in the area. I'm just going to get our android as close as we can then, if we can't actually get all the way out there. Okay. And let's take a look at what happens. Well, that didn't go well, and they left. But the ship that popped right in here, we didn't really have an opportunity to get a good look at them. They are Security Force cruisers. And they have powered armor, which requires armor piercing to fight. And we don't have armor piercing at the moment. So that's the basic philosophy of this. We've got to go figure that out. We need to steal prismatic tungsten from military bases. We're about to step up. And then the idea of building consumable items for battles. All of that's going to happen. Let's keep with the small arms first. Sublimating shells are required for this. But they need the tungsten. And yes, embracing failed attempts. Alright. Reinforced security jacket. No thank you. More mobility, more reinforcement. Yeah. Let's take the shotgun upgrade. And let's see who we can deploy now. I think we'll get a technician. So we can try to do other investigations, but I don't think it's another one. Oh yeah, we did just end turn. I didn't want to do it at the end of a turn, but we're not in that scenario. So let's definitely do this. And let's see where we're possibly going to go for field samples. And there's some good areas close by. We'll just hop on over here, perhaps. And we just need to hop into any of these fields. And we don't have any more combat units to put out. So, since we have a spare technician now, I'm going to go with a nickel bot. There we go. And then send our combat units out to help. And of course, if you really wanted to be super careful, you could send the combat units out there first and have them all set up and in cover and everything, and then send out the technician. I think we're going to be fine here. And we're out of energy. And we have some unhappy people. They don't want us taking samples from the field. So who do we have? Got military snipers from ASI Agriculture. Got security force patrols. Some more of them, IP security, etc. Leave our stuff alone, but in fairly mild terms. Okay. It's time to eliminate some targets. And from time to time, you'll see these figures around. We can't actually fight these ones. They don't have icons or anything. This is just a representation that there's violence happening in the city, and you'll see these sporadically going on at different places at different times. So that's an interesting little tidbit to observe. Let's take our other combat unit. There goes that patrol. And we're not quite there, but almost. Okay. And then maybe our last bit can be used to move our Nickelbot in that direction just in case. So that's definitely an all-combat turn. But we'll keep up the fight. And you know they're not done, but we have finished with the location. So we just need to wipe these guys out. And again, this is a fight that we don't have to be particularly careful with. In fact, that's all of them. Okay. Getting the other field samples will be just as routine as will be the bovine one. I would have liked to make quite a bit more progress this episode, but there's just so much to do to get some of this in place. There's quite a bit at this stage that I could do off screen, and then we will jump back into the tungsten, water purification, and more next time around. Thanks for watching.